An old woman came to the castle at night. She was let in by a side door and given a moment to look in on a sleeping boy. She called him small for his age, she called him sly. Then she told him that in the morning he would need every faculty he had. Because in the morning he would meet her Gom Jabbar. And she was gone. The boy was 15, his name was Paul Atreides. He lay in the dark, not knowing what a Gom Jabbar was. Only that his mother had gone quiet with fear. And that within a week, his family would leave this ocean world forever. In the morning, she set a green metal box on her lap and told him to put his right hand inside. Then she raised a needle to his throat. A drop of poison on the tip. Pull the hand out and die, keep it in and live. Inside the box there was heat. Then burning. Then the certainty that the skin was curling off his bones. He could only feel it cooking. And an inch from his neck sat the thing that would kill him the moment he flinched. He recited what his mother had taught him. Fear is the mind killer. He held on. When it stopped, the hand was unmarked. Pain by nerve induction, no damage at all. The old woman sat back, almost disappointed. No woman-child had ever endured that much. She was gay as Helen Mohiam, Truthsayer to the Emperor, and one of the Bene Gesserit. A sisterhood that had spent 90 generations breeding human bloodlines toward one man who could look where their eyes could not. Every candidate so far had taken the drug and died. Paul's mother, Jessica, was one of them. She had been ordered to bear the Duke a daughter. She bore a son instead because he wanted a son and because she loved him. Before she left, the old woman said one more thing about the boy's father. If anything could be done for the Duke, they would have done it. They might yet salvage the son. For the father, nothing. Remember that. Because the trap was already built. On another world, a man so fat that suspensors carried half his weight stood turning a globe under his palm. Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. His family had held the desert planet Arrakis for 80 years and stripped a fortune out of it. Now the Emperor had taken it away and given it to Duke Leto Atreides as a reward. It was not a reward. It was a man-trap, and the Baron had helped build it. Leto was too popular. The great houses listened when he spoke. So the Emperor had lent the Baron 2 legions of Sardaukar, his own fanatic soldiers, to wear Harkonnen uniform and fall on a family who would never see them coming. And they had a man inside the house. Dr. Wellington Yueh. Imperial conditioning burned into his mind, the sort every man in the Imperium believed could never be broken. They had broken it. They had taken his wife. So while the Atreides packed their lives into crates, one of their most trusted friends moved among them already sold. He gave Paul a small antique Bible and hated himself for it. He was buying comfort for a boy he meant to help destroy. Leto knew. That is the thing to understand about him. He sat his son down and laid it out. The Harkonnens had been hoarding spice for 20 years, so had the Emperor. They meant for production to fail, and the Atreides' name to carry the blame. And no other house would lift a finger, because profit comes first. So why walk in? Because out past the towns, in a desert that kills everything, lived a people nobody had bothered to count. The Fremen. The Harkonnens hunted them for sport. Leto looked at that wasteland and saw what the Emperor's own prison planet had produced. Hard worlds make hard men. If Salusa Secundus could breed Sardaukar, Arrakis could breed their equal. On Caladan he had sea power, here he would build desert power. He sent Duncan Idaho ahead to make friends. They came down at Arrakeen. The first 2 things Jessica unwrapped were a portrait of Leto's father and the mounted head of the bull that killed him. Old blood still on the horns. Leto hung them in the dining hall, then hung the key of Castle Caladan beside them. And that was that. The housekeeper arrived. A small, dried Fremen woman called the Shadout maps. Eyes blue upon blue with no white in them at all. She came with a knife hidden in her dress and one question. And the answer would decide whether she served Jessica or killed her. She drew the blade. Milk white and faintly glowing, ground from the tooth of a sandworm. A Crysknife. She asked Jessica if she knew its meaning. And Jessica, who knew nothing of it, read the shape of the moment and said the word maker. The woman wailed and went down on her knees. You are the one. Centuries earlier, the sisterhood had seeded this planet with legends, planted like emergency supplies, so that any sister who arrived here in need could wear them as armor. Jessica understood exactly what had happened, and it frightened her more than the knife had. They had known how bad this place was. Everything here came back to water. 20 palm trees grew along the road outside the house. Each one drank what 5 men would drink. They see those trees, Yueh said, and they think, there are 100 of us. Jessica said she could smell death in this place. She was right. It was already moving. Paul had palmed his sedative and was lying awake, when the carved headboard folded down onto the pillow where his skull had been. Out of it slid a hunter-seeker, a splinter of metal that hunts by movement and chews up the nerves to whatever will kill you fastest. He froze. It circled. Then the door opened behind him. The thing shot at the sound, and he caught it out of the air with his bare hand and smashed its eye against the doorplate. The woman in the doorway was Maps. She looked at what he was holding and told him what the Fremen already knew. There is a traitor among you. That same hour, Jessica found a sealed room at the top of the south wing. A wet garden behind an airlock. Green leaves, soft air, a fountain running and running. Water enough to keep 1,000 people alive, left for the pleasure of the woman who lived here before. She had also left a note, with coded dots hidden under a leaf. Your son and the Duke are in immediate danger. The bedroom was built to attract the boy. And the Duke will be betrayed by a trusted companion. That night, Jessica watched a light blink far out on the cliffs, and another answer it from the plane. Not on the Duke's network, somebody else's. Leto knew none of it yet. He knew one sentence, running over and over. They have tried to take the life of my son. At the staff meeting, the numbers came out. Half the equipment left behind was scrap. There were worms in the deep desert big enough to swallow a factory whole. And the other great houses called him Leto the Just, promised eternal friendship, and sent nothing. Then a robed man came in past the guards. A Fremen chief named Stilgar. Come to claim the Crysknife of a friend who died carrying a warning to the Atreides. Leto met him with courtesy. Stilgar leaned over the polished table and spat on it. Half the room came out of their chairs. And Duncan Idaho said quietly, we thank you for the gift of your body's moisture. On this world, that was the highest respect one man could pay another. Duncan left with him that night, sworn to 2 masters at once. And when the Fremen spoke of who ruled them, they kept using one name. Liet. Nobody could say whether Liet was a man or a god. Afterward, Thufir, Hawat asked to speak with the Duke alone. He had a scrap of film taken off a Harkonnen courier, half eaten by acid, sealed with the Baron's own mark. What survived said this: that Leto would never suspect, and that when the blow fell from a beloved hand, the source alone would be enough to destroy him. A beloved hand. And the old Mentat, who suspected everybody because suspicion was his trade, looked at the woman who had shared the Duke's bed for 16 years. Leto did not believe it for an instant, but he told Hawat to watch her anyway, because that is what a careful man does. And so the finest security mind in the Imperium turned its full weight onto Jessica, and away from a quiet doctor with a diamond tattooed on his forehead, who moved through the house unwatched, waiting for a signal. That was the design. Not the knife, the suspicion. In the streets that day, people had watched the family ride past, and a few risked shouting a word at the boy. Mahdi, listen, Al-Gabe. They did not know whether they believed it. They only hoped. Before dawn, Leto walked out onto a balcony above the landing field. Inside, his son slept on the conference table under a guard's cloak. The second moon went down behind the cliffs, and the cold came through him. Then the sun rose, and it was beautiful. Overnight, where the dew had touched the ground, red flowers had broken open across the basin. And the Duke stood there thinking that perhaps this planet could grow on a man. Perhaps it could become a home for his son. Then he saw the figures moving out among the flowers with long curved blades, sweeping the dew off the petals, gathering it. Water so scarce that men harvest the morning before the sun can take it. and Leto thought that it could also be a hideous place. Behind him, his son slept on, the one they said they might still salvage. For the father, nothing,